Okay, I'm dead. I don't know how I died. Could have been the booze. If it wasn't the booze that got me, could have been drugs. So let's talk about drugs. Talking about drugs is going to be a little bit more tricky than I had first anticipated because over the years my opinion of drugs has changed. As I've got older, my reverence for them has reduced as well. I don't know whether that is just getting older or because I've done all of them so many times that they just kind of bore me now. So talking from my position now, I would say just don't bother with drugs. Not because of addiction, not because they're going to kill you, just because you're not going to find what you're looking for in them. That's the main thing. But I know me saying don't take drugs is as useless a bit of advice as I could possibly give you. So I'm not going to say that, because if someone came to me, and many people did, and said don't take drugs when I was younger, I'd be like, yeah. That's that's an interesting concept. Yeah. I'll look into it. I didn't listen to anyone, and I assume you won't listen to anyone. So talking about drugs is a lot different from talking about something like alcohol, because there's a lot wider range of drugs than there is alcohol. When you're talking about alcohol, there's really no difference between gin and wine. But with drugs, when you're talking about heroin and when you're talking about acid, you're not talking about the same fucking thing. So the range of drugs and the range of experience is quite different in between drugs. So talking about drugs requires a lot more nuance. You can't just put all drugs and all experience in the same basket. And the thing is with drugs, despite what anyone says, there is a lot of benefits that can be gained by taking drugs if you use them as a tool. That's the trick. Which you won't, which is the problem. But if you use drugs as a tool, a learning tool, a teacher, they can greatly benefit you. They can enhance your life. They can do amazing things for you. But it is very, very unlikely you will be taking drugs as a tool. You'll be taking drugs like everyone else takes drugs, to feel good. This is what I would tell you practically. I would say you don't need to take a drug more than 5 times to learn everything you're going to learn about that drug. Maybe not everything, but 90% of what you're going to learn about it. You can take the drug 5 times, you can be in and out, have the good experience, learn some shit, maybe even have a bad experience. Even a bad experience on drugs sometimes can be transformative. I know myself, having my bad acid trips changed me more for the good than my good acid trips did. I went through a thing they call ego death. That's when your entire ego / personality turns to dust and you have to rebuild yourself from scratch. But I highly advise you not to go down that path. But yeah, you don't need to take it any more than 5 times. You're not going to learn anything more from your 5th time to your 10th time, from your 40th to your 50th. There's a very steep drop-off after the 5th time you do anything. I'm not taking drugs to learn anyway, I'm taking drugs to feel good. That also drops off after the 5th time. It just gets less and less exciting, you feel less and less good. It drops off exponentially until it becomes detrimental, like anything else if you take it too much. Also, drugs aren't as scary as everyone fucking makes out too. Hallucinogens are a different ballgame. I'm talking about everything else. I may have to do a completely separate thing for hallucinogens because I consider them in their own category. Everything else, everything they try and scare you with, they basically sell over the counter in pharmacies anyway. Before you start taking them, you need to know this. You're going to have some amazing experiences. You're going to have some epiphanies. At some point, you might even think, this is the answer. And I'm just here to tell you they're not the fucking answer. You're not going to get any answers out of them. You're going to get more questions than answers. You can use them as a tool to give you a different perspective, to help you answer a question, but no drug inside it is the answer. You're not going to LSD yourself to enlightenment. You're not going to DMT your way to Buddhahood. And I'm just telling you this because I tried it. At one stage, I thought these things had the answer because they're so amazing. They're so mind-blowingly different to anything else you've experienced that you begin to revere them. And you may think this is the closest to God I'll ever get. And it's not. Beware of false prophets. And all drugs are false prophets. No drug is a means to an end. You're not going to get to any place you want to go through drugs, through drug taking. That's just the reality of it. They are great to do. They're great fun. I mean, whenever I start talking about drugs, I start wanting to do them. I feel like doing some now. That's how good drugs are. So I suppose the main bit of advice is they aren't the answer. And just finally, I need to speak to you about weed. Everyone talks about weed like it's the most harmless drug in the world. I don't buy that for one fucking second. Out of all the people I've ever associated with in my life so far, weed has been the drug that I've seen fuck up more lives than any other drug. Maybe not alcohol, but let's put that in a different category. Meth, heroin, all of them. Weed has fucked up heaps of people I know. Destroyed their lives. I had a mate who I used to smoke weed with at like 14, 15. I went and saw him 15 years later. He's still living with his mum. He's still playing PlayStation 2. He's not, but you get my fucking point. His last girlfriend was the girlfriend he had in year 9, and I have a dozen friends like that. And here's why you're going to have to be super careful with weed if you choose to smoke it. I would advise you not to start smoking weed until well after you're 18. Let your brain develop, build some calluses on that mind before you start smoking weed because it triggers latent schizophrenia, and we've got schizophrenia everywhere in our family. My brother's got schizophrenia. My uncle Bradley had schizophrenia. Second cousin Stuart had schizophrenia. One of my dad's aunties had schizophrenia. It's everywhere. And all of those cases are from smoking weed. My dad warned me when I was 13. He's like, you've got to be careful with weed because there's schizophrenics everywhere in our family. And when I started smoking weed, I was like, is this paranoia from the weed? Or is this schizophrenia because my dad said I've got schizophrenia? And it's hard to tell. But I had to stop smoking weed when I was 16 because I could feel myself sliding into the mental institutions. And I dealt with that with my brother for years and years and years and years and years and years. It was never ending. And I'm telling you right now, you do not want to be there. That's the only drug I would say don't take, and that's just a family genetic thing. I think something gets triggered in us, and you've probably got it too. I'm sorry to bring you bad news from the grave, but you're going to have to shelve the I love weed t-shirt and shave off your dreadlocks, because you're not going to be a weed man. I hope I kind of did that without sounding like a complete and utter fucking hypocrite. But also, I don't give a fuck if I did. Like everything else, you're going to have to walk your own path. I can only give you a couple of little pointers here and there. So do with them what you will. Okay, I'm your dad. I'll always be your dad. I love you, and I'll see you on the other side.